I've got the wonderful privilege to speak to Laura Kirsten, and I have introduced her to our ladies of the What Works For Me group on Facebook. And we did say that we're going to share a little bit more about Laura and let you know exactly who Laura is, what she's about, and how she sees health. But you're going to be surprised with this conversation because there's far more about Laura that you don't know. But let me quickly just share something with you. Laura is a wellness mentor who's passionate about helping women reclaim their health and energy so they can live lives of fullness, of purpose, and of impact. She's married for 19 years and a mom to a 12-year-old boy, Liam, if I may mention his name. Laura deeply understands the demands of balancing family life, faith, and personal well-being. And she has a heart for empowering women to understand what's really going on in their bodies, especially during the seasons of transition that come with the 30s, as we all know, and the 40s and beyond. Laura believes that when we support our bodies naturally and give them what they need to thrive, we unlock the vitality and the balance we were designed for. So, Laura, it's great having you with me here on Open and Honest, and we're going to have a great conversation. I know that already.
Thanks, Wanda. I'm looking forward to it.
So, we've been talking about health, and there are so many voices out there, especially on social media, a lot of voices going on, information flooding the social media platforms and all other platforms. And all we want is to be healthy. We just want to live a healthy and a full life. And sometimes we think if we grab onto all of those straws, it's going to solve the problem. That's where the change is going to happen. But Laura, we know it's all about a health paradigm that somewhere, somehow needs to shift, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we need to change that. So changing your health paradigm actually means seeing your health as an investment, not something that you only pay attention to when things go wrong, right? When it's too late.
Yeah.
It's moving from a very reactive mindset to a proactive one, where you understand that your body is an asset that you cannot replace. It's stewardship. You know, we get one body to journey through life in, and prioritizing its care is one of the greatest acts of responsibilities and self-respect that we can offer ourselves. And when we view our health as an investment and as an act of honor toward God, our choices shift from one of obligation to one of worship.
And how do you personally experience this shift in your own health paradigm?
Well, if I look back at my life, I've always tried to make healthy choices.
Yeah.
So my friends tell me, I didn't even realize it, like back in varsity, there were things I would do, and they said, but you would always opt for those things. But I'll be honest with you, the real paradigm shift happened when Brad and I decided to start a family. Month after month, nothing happened. And even though the doctor said, oh, nothing's wrong, you must just relax. I mean, who actually, even in the history of the world, has relaxed when someone tells them to relax, right? But I started to do some introspection. And at that time, Brad was actually interviewing a nutritionist. He was doing a whole series on her. And he brought back her book, and I started working through this. And it was in this time that I started making some simple shifts, right? Introducing more whole foods, spending more time outdoors, connecting with nature. There were things that I cut out and eliminated from my body. And what I now know with the knowledge I've accumulated is that my entire hormonal system had shifted and wasn't working correctly through my own choices. And when I made these shifts, I fell pregnant. And when I got pregnant and there was this life growing inside of me, I was overwhelmed with intrigue and interest and absolute awe at what God had done and created. And so that is when my own knowledge, because now it wasn't just me I was looking after, It was this
Yeah.
unborn baby, and the responsibility that I'd have to take care of it and make decisions for it going, or him going forward, right? And
Yeah.
so that is where my own paradigm shift happened. Again, out of one of responsibility.
Yeah. Why do you think so many people struggle to change the way that they view health? Why is it such an issue and a battle?
Wanda, I think that many people fear what changing will require of them.
Right.
Letting go of comforts,
Yeah.
addictions, their coping mechanisms, and their social habits.
That's me.
And
Yeah.
I've seen, yeah, right? And people cling to these, and
Yeah.
most of these habits have actually been culturally normalized. You're seen
Hmm.
as odd or strange if you don't partake, or if you don't choose to have something that everyone else is having. It's not just limited to kids and peer pressure. I think that carries on for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
And when I'm engaged with people, it feels like health is the one sort of untouchable area, because
Mm.
changing it exposes our own need for honesty and discipline and responsibility. And I think for decades, we've been conditioned to believe that the solution to any discomfort is a pill or a potion or a
Mm.
powder, right?
Mm.
And we live in a society that views medicine as a first line instead of our lifestyle. So
Yeah.
I feel that we've lost the natural understanding that the body can be strengthened and supported and healed just through daily choices that we're making. And
Hmm.
many people haven't been taught that they have a partnership role to play in their health.
Yeah. Yeah. That's incredibly important what you're saying now is that ownership thing and partnership. Now,
Yes.
how does a mindset influence a person's physical well-being? Um, does it does it really affect it? Is it really effective if we start changing our minds?
Okay, that's a great question. So, mindset, in my opinion, is the starting point of physical transformation.
Right.
If you believe that you're too tired, you're too busy, you're too far gone, or that healthy living is too hard, then you'll act in alignment with that belief.
Mm.
But when you believe that your body is designed and created to thrive, when you see health as possible, as enjoyable, and as meaningful, then your actions will naturally shift to support that.
Hmm.
And that mindset that you speak about, it creates the internal permission to change and for your body to follow that leadership.
Mm.
Mindset is what shapes our behavior, and our behavior shapes our health. And in Romans, we're told to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right?
Yeah,
And that
absolutely.
applies to our physical health too. So when our
Yeah.
thinking changes, then our choices follow.
Mm.
And that renewed mindset is what helps us to align our habits with God's design for our bodies.
Yeah. Now, there's a lot of misconceptions as well. And I think before we move on to, or a little bit deeper into the mindset issue, the misconceptions is often the reason or the biggest obstacle why we don't start or we start incorrectly and it leads to nothing.
Yes. Wanda, people I've seen, they think, oh, it's going to be boring. You're just going to
Yeah.
have to live on boring salads, or now I have to live at the gym. I need a gym membership. It's going to
Mhm.
be expensive.
And
It's
the right
socially
gear.
limiting. Exactly, right. I need
Yeah.
all the right equipment. I read all the right
Yeah.
things. Um, there's even this like, oh, but healthy people don't enjoy life. They don't have fun. Um, and there's the excuse, everything in moderation. So I think I think it can all be summed up with one thing, and that's that
Mm.
um, in reality, health actually expands your life. It doesn't limit your life
Yeah.
because it creates energy and joy and freedom and longevity. So,
Mm.
yes, you're absolutely right. I think these limitations are really just excuses that people make, and then they justify it with just reaffirming those misconceptions over
Mm.
and over again.
Yeah. Now, I want to make a mental shift, right? I want to live a healthy life. Where do I start?
One of the key areas is looking at it, moving from thinking I'm going to fix my body to rather I'm going to support my body.
Hmm.
So moving from fixing to supporting. So instead of saying, what do I need to stop or what do I need to cut out?
Yeah.
You can say, how can I rather support my body? What good stuff can I add in? And
Right.
when we make that shift, it actually removes the shame and the restriction that we often feel, and it rather replaces it with partnership and empowerment.
Now, how do you help clients unlearn unhealthy beliefs or habits? Because that's, as you said, that's something that comes from being a little girl. If I think of myself, when I was still at primary school, my mom used to wake me up with coffee with 3 teaspoons of sugar. That was her way of showing she loves me, she cares for me, she wants to encourage me. So those are habits that we learn, and it becomes pretty much part of our belief, of what love should look like, for instance. Just a simple example of that.
I love that example, Wanda, because you know what? I often have people who come to me and say, oh, we've got diabetes that runs in the family, or we've got high cholesterol, or we've got high blood pressure, or we've got insert your own lifestyle disease in our family. And I said, you know what else runs in your family? Poor habits. Because
Totally.
it's not a blame, because really I know as a parent you do the best with the information you have, right? But your mom feeds you a particular way, and then if you don't know better or different, you go and teach that to your children, and to their children. So what I like to do is I like to help people connect the dots, because when they understand the why, it's easier for them to make the shifts. Why are they craving sugar? Why are they having that afternoon crash? Why are their hormones out of balance? Because when we understand why, it becomes much easier to release unhelpful behaviors. And I find that education, accompanied with compassion, creates space for change. And when we release guilt or replace guilt with awareness, then your habits begin to shift naturally. I remember many years ago, I wanted to, I had embarked, so this was before Liam was even born, just after Brad and I got married, and we both wanted to make a shift. We wanted to start exercising and eat healthier. We just come back from living overseas. And I started working in a corporate environment where there were often events and on campus, and then there would be platters and platters of muffins and scones and all things left over that we had access to every day. And when I started, in the past, I would have said, "Ooh, don't eat that because it's going to make me fat." But now I changed my paradigm and I said, is this feeding my body? Is it helping me? What is in there? How is that going to fit my gut? All of that. And that's what made it easier for me to say no when I understood why. So when somebody understands that their body was actually designed with intention and intelligence and God-given healing mechanisms, that's when they see the value in treating it well. Because that awareness and the truth leads to freedom. And I also always say, people mustn't feel shame. We've done what we can. What you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah, right.
So I'm trying to get people to know so that they can make better decisions, but understanding why and how it affects their bodies.
Oh, that's so incredibly important. Now, we spoke about self-awareness. We speak about a long-term health, how we get that change to be sustainable and take place. How do you, as somebody who's a health coach, how do you handle resistance? Let me tell you, if there's one thing that really I find, I've got to be honest, let's be transparent here. I find it extremely draining when I give somebody advice and they sort of just bounce it back. And you can see the advice is going nowhere. And in a month's time, and I think I was one of those clients for you, in a month's time, they come back and they complain about the same things. And all you have to ask them is, did you actually do what I asked you to do, or what I suggested you do? So, but how do you deal with that as a health coach, with that resistance thing and not really wanting to buying?
People need to be ready. I think that
that's vital.
I often say to people, if you want something badly enough, you will make a plan. Otherwise, you will make excuses. Either way, you're making something. And I think that often the pain of staying where you are
Yeah.
needs to be so great that you can't endure it anymore, that you're ready to make the shifts and the decisions. And I think that not everybody is in that space.
Yeah.
Not everybody is ready. And also, some people feel like they need to do all or nothing. They need to go all in or they can't. And so they might have all the reasons and excuses for why they can't go all in. But what I like to remind them is that small wins compound. There's that book by James Clear called Atomic Habits. And so as we do these small shifts, we can see massive change over time, because what we don't need perfection, we need consistency. And an all or nothing thinking is actually rooted in striving. And it keeps people stuck because they're taught that change must be extreme. So yeah, I like to say focus on progress, not perfection. And then I show them how to create changes that are sustainable and integrate into their lifestyle, and also can be introduced to their family.
Yeah, that's vital, because that's how it's actually how it becomes a lifestyle and sustainable for everyone. I think that's the biggest problem. You sort of on your own journey, and you have to weigh your food separately and eat separate food and have a separate budget, and I think that's something that really gets to some women, and that's why, you know, a diet starts and a diet stops when it shouldn't have been stopping. So yeah, let's try and to make that sustainable. So when we look at a practical lifestyle change that we have to make, when someone wants to transform their health, like so many of the ladies indicated the last while, where should they start? Is it food? Is it exercise? Is it sleep? Or is it just simply a mindset? Just to give an example, somebody said the other day, but I absolutely hate exercise. Now, there's also so many wrong, incorrect perceptions when it comes to exercise. Not all of us will ever lift a weight, but we approach it differently. And it's what one of the ladies, the health gurus, said. It's so simple, actually. Just start moving, get moving. And that's to me one of the most important things. But how do you see it? Where should we start?
So it goes back to what we discussed a little while ago, which is mindset, I think, because your mindset will determine everything else.
Yeah.
And when you have a strong why, then the practical choices can feel purposeful instead of burdensome, and you start to make shifts. You start to see food differently. Your mindset will shape the food choices you make. It will shape your ability or desire to exercise. For example, when my mindset is right, I will get up and go and do my exercises, even if I don't feel like it. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't always feel like it. But I think when we try and first change the actions, go, okay, I'm gonna do 10,000 steps, and I'm gonna only eat salads, and I'm gonna get 9 hours of sleep a night. When we focus on that as a starting point, we can crash and burn. So get the mindset right, and then let your mindset guide the other actions. But there's simple things around nutritious food choices and movement and rest will all follow the mindset.
All those small little habits that a person can start that will create a big result, or a long-term result. I think in business they talk about the 80-20 principle. And this is basically the same thing. It's not changing 80%, it's changing that 20 vital percent that you have to change to get that 80% result, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
And how do you see those? What are those daily habits that a person can change?
So I teach 3 daily steps, okay? It's eliminate, nourish, and repair. So I first look at what are the things that we need to consider eliminating, and this goes across stress. It goes across the toxins that we're exposed to. It goes to the digital exposure that we have. What are we letting into our minds? It goes to becoming aware of supporting our body's own detoxification systems. Many people think, oh, I need to go on a detox. Your body's built in with an inbuilt detox system, just learning to support it. And becoming mindful of, what the added things are doing, the added sugars and preservatives and artificial sweeteners and these. So that's the one thing. Then I look at nourishing. So how can we nourish the cells of our bodies? Whole, fresh food. It's actually so simple, that whole foods, drinking good, clean water, nourishing our guts, and then repair. And repair happens when we rest, it happens when we sleep. And I say both of those
Mm,
things are important. Sleep is an area that I'm massively challenged in, and something I'm really needing to proactively work on in the season. Because as we age, sleep becomes vitally, vitally important for
yeah,
memory and
absolutely.
recovery and all those things,
Yeah.
but then also rest and
Mm-hmm.
just switching off. So these sound simple, but they can be profoundly effective
Mm,
in just guiding you day by day through your day.
yeah. And I think when we look at how the, how many things we can take, these sleeping tablets, there's this remedy, there's that remedy. And the ideal would be to get your body to be able to do it by herself, isn't it? Is that not where
Yes.
we want to really get to? So that you don't have to sort of, you're on your way on the airport and you think, oh, I forgot my sleeping tablets, I forgot this, I forgot that. Wouldn't it be wonderful to get on the aeroplane and say, I've forgotten all of those, but I don't need any of those. I'm fine by myself. So that's actually where we want to
Exactly.
get. Yeah.
Yes, I
So
agree wholeheartedly.
people feeling overwhelmed by all the health information that's out there, what do we say to them? I'm one of them. When we started this whole journey, I felt maybe I should just rather not start at all. Just keep it private, be on my own. But there were so many questions, Laura, and I get very anxious. Let me share that very transparently. I get very anxious. I am too afraid to say, eat an egg in the morning, because I did not study it and I do not know what your body is like. I can't take responsibility for that. So it's a huge responsibility, and I don't feel that it's always deemed and handled that way on all these platforms. People are
Mm.
irresponsible when it comes to all the information that is shared. So where does the responsibility then lie? Is it not with us?
I think that we need to become the gurus of our own bodies.
Right. I love it. Love what you
Yeah,
say.
right. And this is I'm meaning this not even just by all the people on social media. I'm even meaning when you go and sit in front of a medical
Yeah.
professional. You need to be the guru of everybody. You need to be informed enough to have a conversation with and not be spoken at.
Love
And
it.
there are numerous ways we can do this, but ultimately, I believe that God isn't a God of confusion, and health doesn't have to be confusing. When we simplify and we return back to his original design, we keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. I don't believe that, I mean, there's so many things. Oh, there's the blood type diet and there's this and that. And do you think that we were necessarily designed not to have to go and spend all this money on all of these tests to understand? There are things that can add further insight, but we
Yeah.
don't need to have all the puzzle pieces to start. You just need the
Yeah.
first piece. You just need
Mhm.
to put the first piece of the puzzle down. We don't need a PhD to navigate it. Find one or two people that you can relate to and that you've built trust in, and slowly start to learn and to implement and to test it out.
Yeah.
Learn to listen to your body and the feedback it gives you. If there's somebody telling you to only eat the following or not eat the following, and you do that and your body doesn't respond right, then stop it. Like you said,
Yeah.
we are all different, all our bodies, if you're not and we can share from our own experience, we can share from our
Mm.
testimonies and what has worked for other people, but I think each person needs to try, and we need to also apply some logic.
Yeah.
So yes, I
True.
don't think we can bury our head. Somebody recently said to me, "Oh no, I don't want to know any of this, because if I know this, then I have to change and I have to act on it." I'm like, why would you not want to?
Yeah.
But yes, I do understand it can be confusing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be. The principles are universal, they're the same, and the principles are actually really simple. eliminate the things that are harming your body, nourish your body with the good things. And where you need beyond that, lean in. You know, if I sometimes you may need a diagnosis, but when you get that diagnosis, it's up to you to go and research what your different options are. No one can ever prescribe or tell you what you have to do. The onus is going to lie on you. And we actually have so many amazing options available to us today.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. If we look at emotional and spiritual connection, we can't, as believers, we can't move away from that. There is a very direct link between health and mental health, physical health and mental health. And then also spirituality together with that. So how do you see this? There are many perceptions, in terms of how we operate together, body, soul, mind. Where do you see yourself? What is your view in terms of the connectedness between body, mind, and spirit?
So I don't believe that we were designed as compartmentalized beings. God has created us integrated, and what affects one part affects the others.
Yeah.
They're not separate systems, they are really deeply entwined. So I believe that your thoughts influence the biochemistry in your body, your emotions influence your nervous system, and your spiritual well-being influences your sense of purpose, of peace, and of direction.
Right.
And our job is to look after all three so that the body can move back to balance. I once heard it actually shared like what do you call those little, a stool, the little chair with the three legs?
A bar stool.
If you take,
like
like a little stool, like a chair with the three legs.
Yeah.
If you take one leg away, the chair will collapse.
Yeah.
And that is exactly, I think, when we negate one of them, the entire system will collapse. If we think about it, chronic stress, for example, will dysregulate your hormones and your sleep and your digestion and inflammation because it literally wears down the body. When we're living in that constant fight or flight mode, and I know that you can relate, right? The body actually literally diverts all of the resources away from your healing and your digestion and your detoxification and your healthy hormone production, just so that you can survive. And when those emotions go unprocessed, they can actually show up physically. They can manifest as headaches, as gut issues, as fatigue, and as inflammation. So I often like to say to people, the body keeps score until you create the space to release it.
Right, it absolutely does. And I've seen that in my own life, not once, many times, that I think, burnout is not going to happen to me again. And when I see again, I haven't changed any of my bad habits. So how can we then reconnect with our body's intuition about what it needs? As I said, we've got all the information. There's an explosion of that.
Yes.
And yet we still lean on the advice of others, which is helpful, but it's not knowing who we are. How do we get there?
This is such a great question. I think that we need to, first of all, slow down.
Right.
We need to slow down enough to listen to what our body is actually telling us. And I don't mean that in a hocus pocus way. I mean, our body is giving us symptoms. And those symptoms are signals. They're not annoyances to numb. So when you have pain, we tend to reach for a painkiller. When we have a headache, we want to numb the headache. When we're tired, we want to caffeinate. I often say, you weren't born with a caffeine deficiency. But we need to stop numbing this. We need to stop just treating symptoms. We need to start looking at the root behind them. We need to stop numbing our bodies with caffeine and sugar and medication, because that is when clarity comes. And when we relearn our body's language, one small shift at a time, you will see things. Just small example. After I had given birth, we made the conscious choice not to go back on hormonal contraceptives.
Mm.
And what was fascinating was for the 7 years prior to that, I'd been on and I'd been numbing my body's own messages to me. And
Sure.
suddenly I've learned to discover what it felt like to ovulate. Like I can tell you when I'm ovulating, for example.
Wonderful.
And it's when we put our body into autopilot, we miss those things.
Mm.
So it's getting comfortable with the discomfort so that we can explore deeper and find what's really
Mm.
behind it. When we've got an iron, low iron, the solution isn't an iron supplement. The solution is why? Is my body not digest? Is it a absorption thing? Am my body not
Mm.
digesting it? You may be getting ample iron through your diet, but your gut isn't in a position to actually help you to to digest that and absorb that. Or you may be having excessively heavy menstrual periods and losing excess amounts of blood every month. That's
Mm.
causing your iron to dip. We need to look, and there's a good reason that that happens to a lot of women. We need to address that, not just put
Yeah.
a plaster on it.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Now, how do we integrate that mindfulness or spiritual awareness into health coaching? Um, there's a lot of things that we can say, and I think we must maybe do a second talk on the importance of emotional healing, because it all plays out in the body. But how do you integrate this mindfulness? Because we have to teach and rewire our brains to become mindful people who live connected to ourselves, connected to our health, connected to what our bodies are telling us. But how do you do that in coaching? Because it's almost, I want to send them to the mountains and say, go and meditate there for a year and feed off the grass and see if you can connect again. So there must be easier ways to do that.
It's so as I mentioned earlier about slowing down. So I
No,
try and create space for people to slow down,
no,
to create those intentional pauses and help them cultivate awareness of their internal state. So
yeah.
taking a deeper dive, literally going back through from when you were born up until present, like there
Mm,
clues along the
beautiful.
way.
Mm,
And then when we can be
yeah.
aware of that understanding, connecting the dots, having that mindfulness to then make aligned choices instead of reactive ones.
Yes.
And
Beautiful.
when we even link that with our own spiritual awareness and understanding, how God's created our bodies, then we root our wellness journey in a deeper purpose and actually in our own identity and not in pressure or comparison. So, yeah, there's a lot of dialogue that takes place and there's a lot of questions we need to ask ourselves in that.
Mm, yeah, especially the healing part. I think all of us need healing, and we don't always realize that the physical
Yes.
thing that we're struggling with is connected directly to that lack of healing or not paying
Mm-hmm.
attention to it. What are the key indicators that someone's health paradigm has finally truly changed?
So I think this is when
I hope I
change
see myself
actually.
somewhere there in what you're going to say, by the way.
Okay, so you can now see if you can relate to these. They I'd say they are when they start making choices
Mm,
proactively and not reactively.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, then they start to actually notice how the food they're eating, the sleep they're getting or not getting, and the stress they're exposed to are affecting them. They start to connect those dots themselves and they see this
Mm,
cause and effect relationship.
mhm.
Another big one is they stop outsourcing their health and they start partnering with their body.
I love it.
And I know from our conversations, I think that's definitely something you can tick because that's something you've
Yeah.
really embraced. I've noticed that in you. Another big one is valuing longevity over quick fixes. It's not about getting and especially I speak now from a space of me being mid 40s and looking at it's no longer about being skinny
Mm,
or losing weight for vanity. It's
mm,
about going, I want a strong body that can carry me through to my old age, that I'm not frail and weak. Okay, so it's about, why am I doing this? Longevity is the view. It's also when your health becomes your lifestyle and
yeah.
not just a project or a short-term
Mm,
thing. That's why I don't
mm,
do diets. Diet is a
mm,
quick fix. It's an interim solution. It needs to be a way
yeah.
of life.
Mhm,
And then the other one is where you stop treating health as punishment and you begin treating it as worship.
mm.
Ultimately, Wanda, I think it's
Oh,
when
it's beautiful
change
worship.
becomes your identity. Your
Mm.
identity needs to shift. And I think that is where the paradigm shift happens.
I think sometimes people are who go on a health journey are sometimes incredibly alienated. And I think you might have experienced that before because even though restaurants are very accommodating in terms of diet, people are aware that you might be a vegetarian or you might be a vegan or whatever the case might be. And we know that there's also been a lot of insensitiveness in terms of these matters, even though we try and accommodate those. So, having said that, if I say that I might be on a healthy lifestyle now, I can tell you now that there might be a lot of people who wanted to invite me for Sunday lunch, but now they're scared and apprehensive to do that because what are we going to give her? Are we going to give her leaves and a piece of tomato? So unfortunately, it does happen that it's sort of the balance gets completely distorted. So maybe people should also just understand that a healthy lifestyle means that within what you are giving me on the table, there are healthier choices that I can make. I'm not going to not eat a potato. I'm just going to eat the smaller potato. Or if I eat the potato, I might not eat the staver pop as well. So there are choices to be made, healthier choices. But it's all about balance. How do I find balance living this healthier lifestyle? You will be accused of being radical. You will be accused of being fanatical, um, whatever the case might be. I'm sure you've had some of those boards hung around your neck as well. So please enlighten us and exactly how do we keep that balance and show people that it is actually a balanced lifestyle.
Oh my goodness, yes, I totally have had that. And, we've even had feedback like, well, we wanted to invite you, but we didn't know what to feed you. Like,
Okay, that's
oh my
something.
goodness. So I love the fact that you framed it around like healthier choices. It's
Mm,
starting. And I think there's a couple of things that we've done. And number one is inviting people over to our house and letting them see the healthier choices. So not
mm,
saying now, and maybe some people will be like, oh, are they going to eat leaves if we invite them? But when they come, they actually indulge in some really great food and go, oh wow, this is actually really nice.
yeah,
So first
yeah.
of all, it's like practically showing them. Another one is when you're going to a braai or to an event, is never, go don't go empty-handed. Arrive with something that you can put on the table, that if there's something else, if there's an abundance of things that you are not going to be ideal, that you are trying to stay away from, you've got something that you can tuck into that everybody else will probably want to finish off as well. And then you can
Right.
just, add that sort of 80-20.
Mm,
But ultimately, balance isn't about perfection, it's about alignment. So it's about
mm. Oh,
choosing
just say
habits
that
that
again. Just say that again.
Bal
Balance.
okay, balance isn't about perfection,
Right.
it's about alignment.
Beautiful. Mm,
It's choosing habits that are going to support you physically,
mm,
emotionally, mentally, and spiritually without falling
yes.
into extremes. Because when we live in an extreme state, we alienate people. We can potentially harm ourselves.
Mm,
And it's learning to listen to your body's rhythms and honoring certain seasons of your life when
yeah.
things aren't always going to be possible, where there's challenges, where there's
Mm,
growth necessary, or seasons of rest, or even a season of reset. Um, and I think ultimately, Vanda, balance is actually a moving target. It's not a fixed destination
mm,
because your awareness of what balance means is going to shift and grow and expand. But I think we're called to do the best with the information that we have right now.
Yeah.
Going back to where we spoke about all these people and all this information out there, do the best with the information you have right now.
Yeah.
And see, I found that we made some radical decisions, but in the past, but we've even shifted from those because we've learned it isn't a one time, that was your only decision. That's, you know, forever and ever. I mean, you have to live like that. We learn, we grow, and we reset.
You know, I sat next to a gentleman, he's a chemical engineer, and they specialize in, you know, all the different poisons that they put on the vegetables and that they use in landscaping and whatever. And we get all of those in, he says. So eventually I asked him, okay, I'm looking for a farmer's market where I can go and buy food that is clean, that
Yes.
there is absolutely nothing on it. Now, maybe you can give us some tips on that. Now, interestingly, he said, I hope you don't eat mushrooms, he said. And that was very interesting. And then after that, he said, you know, with the stuff that we sell and what we know and what we've learned, the only safe food you can actually eat is meat and potatoes and onions. And that was quite interesting. And I thought to myself, oh, that is now typical what happens when we say we just want to radically get rid of all the bad things. We live in a broken world. Please give us some perspective on that. We live in a broken world. What is our approach? To live as healthy as possible, or going the extremely expensive way? Because we know, Laura, that many of these products are far more expensive. I mean, buying food at this shop as opposed to that shop, this is organic, that's not organic. We are not all able to buy into that model. Let's be honest about that. What do we do to find the balance then? And this is a question I want to throw in here from the side. Because we want, you know, I'm that kind of person. If I do it, I want to do it full out, and I don't want to deviate, and I don't want to make mistakes. But it is expensive, and how can I make it affordable to still eat healthily?
So when it comes to health, to add a layer to this, it's not just about what we're putting inside our bodies. It's what we're putting on our bodies. It's what we're using in our environments. And when I first started this journey, I came up with this analogy. Many, many years ago, there was that advert, Cremora, where the guy was like, where's the Cremora? And they say, it's not inside, it's on top. And so I thought about it, and I thought, first thing I like to say to people is I follow like a three-phase approach. I first look at what I'm putting in my body. Because here's the thing, many people go, okay, but I need to fix what I'm eating. I need to fix what I'm putting on my body. It's too overwhelming. How do I make all these changes at once? So I say the approach I took was, first, let me focus on what I'm putting in my body. Let me prioritize my attention, my finances, my everything on that. Then when I feel like I've got a happy balance with that, then I can move to, let me educate myself on what I'm putting on my body, because your skin is your biggest organ. It absorbs what you put on your skin into your bloodstream, and that will affect you. And then thirdly, what am I using in my environment around me? What am I using to clean my home? What am I using to make it smell nice? All of those things. So first of all, segment those and then pick one and start. But I feel like the one which you're putting in your body is important. And yes, what you said is, you know, we can't get away from it unless we are going to farm our own food. And obviously that is an option, right? My son is growing little tomato plants in the kitchen. We can do it. we can start to grow some of our own food. We can educate ourselves. We can get, ideally, we'd all be living on organic fruit and veg. It's not really available, and it is expensive. So what we can do is there's something known as the Dirty Dozen. They are actually the list of the ones that are the most impacted by the pesticides and things that are sprayed on them. So those are the ones that you'd want to look at If you had a budget for organic, those are the ones you'd want to start shifting. There's a lot that is in a better. So, there's education around it. And then you can also buy special, and when I say special, I don't mean it's actually not even that expensive. You can buy a cleaner to wash your fruit and veggies in, or you can use a simple bicarb and water, and you rinse your veggies and you
As
clean
good
your
as you
fruit and
can.
veggies properly, as good as you can, right?
Yeah.
Um, you can, when it comes to your water, you don't have to go and buy fancy water that's imported from the Swiss Alps, that's been cooled at a certain. You can do as simple as getting a little gadget that you fit on your tap from the shop down the road that has a little filter. It doesn't have to be super expensive, but you're filtering out some
At
of the
least.
harmful
Yeah.
stuff, right? At
Right.
least.
Mm-hmm.
You can become mindful of, for example, big emphasis that I teach women about hormones and things like that is, I would say, eat less meat that's better quality, that's, opt for free range meat that's not got added hormones, not got added antibiotics, and eat it less times a week, but proper quality meat.
Mm.
Um, and there's so much that is now come onto the market. There's things you can make yourself. So there's a lot that you can do. And then if you really want to be intentional about it, there are things that you can do. I mean, I specifically work with women to help them create income so that they can afford more of the things. Because when you have access to more income, it does open and unlock more options for you. But everybody can start just with the simple basics
Yeah.
of buying local, supporting local farmers in your area that might. I mean, they actually, what's interesting, Wanda, is there are a lot of people that are doing organic farming, but it's not certified organic, so it can't get that stamp. Get to know the people in your community. There's very clever little hubs of people that are coming together, bulk buying, tapping into wholesale prices where they're clubbed together. People are incredibly creative. It goes back to what I said earlier. If you really want to do something, you will make a plan.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll make excuses. So
Yeah.
yes, it will take a little bit of detective work and a little bit of
Mm.
planning. It means my husband, I've got a gem of a husband. Every night he prepares and chops up a fruit salad for us the next morning so that it's easier for me to do that than to now rush into think, oh, I don't have time. I can't stop at the shop and buy something. It's ready. A little bit of planning, a little bit of proactivity. Anything is possible.
Yeah, yeah. And as you said, making it yourself makes you connect with the food, makes you connect with the idea of eating healthily, of preparing that food the way that you know is the best for your family. You mentioned a few things about the foods that we should maybe consider to try and get, rather the organic option. And I know there's going to be questions. I know it already. So I think for everyone listening, let's maybe make an appointment for another conversation where we look at healthy oils, where we can look at your healthy alternatives, and then we have a good list of those that the ladies can just jot down and maybe, put to work and see if it works for them. Shall we do that?
That's a great idea.
Okay, right. Let's quickly move on, and the time has almost run out, but this is such a nice conversation. I would like to speak to you again and again and again, and I know your time is very precious. But when we look at health and healing and the journey that many women have, uh, traveled on, I think one of the things and big questions would be, if I look at my own life, Laura, we prayed
Yes.
for my mom for 12 years for God to heal her from a very rare carcinoid cancer that she had. It's a very scarce a cancer. They treat it with Palandaba. They do those atoms that they create there, and then they injected into her, and then she was radioactive like for 3 days, and that treated her. And unfortunately, after many, many years of suffering, about 12 years, she passed away anyway. So why do I mention this? A lot of people say, but we live healthily, we do everything we can, we pray for healing, We made better choices in terms of our health, and yet healing hasn't come. So how do we look at health, our responsibility? How do we think about healing? And when healing doesn't come, or how do we approach this? Maybe you can help us with that also as a coach.
I think it's important that some people have compartmentalized this, and they think God is only interested in our spiritual health. But God has a desire for us to live in good health. One of the verses that has really impacted my journey is 3 John 1 verse 2, which says, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. Because God isn't only interested in our spiritual well-being, He's deeply interested in the quality of our physical health.
Absolutely.
But here's the key. We have a responsibility of stewardship.
Right.
People often ask God to heal what their habits continue to harm. And prayer is powerful, right? And God can absolutely heal us. But prayer isn't a substitute for obedience, because God created principles for nourishment and rest and movement and stewardship. And we can't ask Him for healing while continually living in contradiction to the principles that He created for us. And it's not that God is withholding that from us, but sometimes we are simply violating the very design that He created for our freedom. The Bible says faith without stewardship is presumption.
Yeah.
And God heals, but He commands us to honor the body that He made. And we reap what we sow, even in our health.
Yeah.
So learning to see this, we are taught to steward our finances in the church. Yeah. Very much like we steward our finances. But I find this is a topic people don't want to talk about stewarding their health, because it goes back to all those reasons that touch on it. But caring for our health is one of the ways that we honor God.
Yeah.
Our bodies are fearfully and wonderfully made. There are trillions of cells that have been divinely engineered to repair and restore and thrive. And God created our bodies with the ability to heal as long as we supply what each cell needs. So health isn't just a physical journey. It's an act of stewardship, of honor, and of alignment with God's design. And when God heals, we also need to go, what do I need to do to keep this healing, not to get this back? So so I just think that there is a physical responsibility that many people want to negate and just spiritualize it and say, I'm just going to pray for healing. Absolutely pray for healing.
Yeah.
But it's time that we step up, we take ownership, and we steward this amazing vessel that God has given us. That's the heart and the passion behind what I do, is saying, ladies, men, children, you cannot do what God has called you to do in this life if your body's going to ail you and fail you. So take ownership, strengthen it, gird up, and get ready, because the battle is ahead of us and we need to be strong if we are to make it through.
Yeah, this is so beautiful what you said now. And I hope that all the ladies will write this on their hearts, because what you said now is profound, but it's also so true, and biblically it's well-based. It says exactly what the word says. So there is no argument against that. And I want to just encourage everyone who listened today that today's aim was not to make you feel convicted or guilty or anything like that. Laura's heart is really to encourage women to embrace their health. And you closed off with such a powerful thought, Laura, where we say that we have one body. We might have incredible talents. We might have incredible callings, but this vessel has to take that and carry that forward. And if we fail to look after the vessel, then we are also being unfaithful to our calling and what God has called us to do. It's very simple. It's actually, that's the plain truth. It's not easy and it's not comfortable, but it is the truth. Laura, thank you so much for your time. We're going to have these conversations more often. And from here onwards, we're also going to give ladies the opportunity to connect with you on a different base, So I don't know if you want to tell them about how higher living, that's also an option for ladies to go and visit. There are Zoom opportunities for them to also get to know you a little bit better. And we're going to use this interview to actually just launch that and make that visible and available to all the ladies, if that's okay with you. Can you just guide us through the details?
Yes, sure. So just touching on what you said, please, no judgment, no, we do the best with what we
Yeah,
have. My heart is to inspire, educate, and empower women and their families just to take ownership of their wellness so that you
yeah,
can break free from that survival mode.
yeah,
And so what I've done is I've created a platform that's possible. I have a website that they can visit. We do weekly Zooms, which all teach you about different aspects of your body. I do sessions, in-person sessions that are monthly, that are free to come to, where you'll just learn and grow and get some of your questions answered. So yes, I'm growing the various channels. Another one is you can follow me on my Facebook or my Instagram. And in my stories, I do like sneak behind the scenes of my own life, just to break it down and make it really practical and share what
yeah,
I'm doing, what am I doing in my exercises, what am I doing in my food,
yeah.
and you'll get to know me and my family a little bit better like that as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. And my heart is to really just bring the ladies in contact from my own testimony, just bring them in contact with people who know exactly what they're talking about, people who really put in a lot of effort, a lot of time, and does it as a professional, way forward of really helping women with well-researched information. And I thank you for that, Laura, because I know that you are making such an immense difference in the lives of so many women, because we are the gatekeepers of the health of our families. And if we can get it right, we're going to change generations to come as well. So thank you so much. And just again, quickly, your handles, we'll put that in the comments below in the caption. So
Okay, great.
your website, just repeat your website address quickly.
It's the Higher Living Way, higherlivingway.com. And then on Instagram, it's Laura Kirsten. And we can pop it in the
Yeah, in the caption.
show
But
notes.
yes, it is going to
Yes.
be there. All the details are there. You're going to see far more of Laura in future. And we're looking forward to all those conversations. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Wanda. You too.
Bye.